to the left. That means whatever. We're live.
Hold on. Hold on.
No.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi Corner. This is episode number 247, and we are discussing the movie About Time. Now, this is a 2013 film that we are discussing, and we are kind of going into a different realm with this movie because even though it is sci-fi, it has other types of characteristics. I would say it's more drama and some comedy layers to it. But anyway, with that said, we are back for the new year, and I want to welcome back my co-host, my friend of, I'll say it really low, like 40 years, Mr. Ross Amico. Hey, Ross.
Hey, Roy. I look like death warmed over, like Marley's ghost. Yeah, the chain I forged in life. Well, for those of you who don't know, my computer died a week or two ago, and this is a new laptop. I can't figure out how to warm up the image, so we're like turning lights on and off. They look really pallid, but that's only the least of my worries with everything I've been going through with this thing. So that's the short story, you know.
Do we want to hear the long story, Ross? No.
You know, if you want a pad, I'll rant for a long time, and
that'll pad the show, and then we can say, "Up, look at the time."
Yeah, and no one will be entertained. Yeah.
Anyway, it's good to be back, Ross, and it's nice to have you back. And
thanks.
You definitely were missed, and there was just a lot of stuff going on. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff going on with both of us, but anyway, it's the start of a new year. It's January 5th, 2025. How the heck did that actually happen? I don't know. But anyway, Before we kick it off, I want to say and welcome everybody that's out there that is joining us, starting with Dennis Chevalier. Dennis is joining us from Canada. Welcome, Dennis. Also want to say hi to Don Bethman, who is out there joining us. Welcome, Don. And Don is joining us from Delaware. May is joining us from Canada. Welcome, May. And Michelle Diato is joining us from Connecticut. Welcome. Good to see you out there, Michelle. Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year again, of course, to everybody. And Lou is also out there. Welcome, Lou. And Lou is joining us from Rhode Island. And Sherry is out there. Hey, hon. She's welcome back,
Thank
Ross.
you. Thank you. And hello, everyone. Happy New Year.
Randy Lee is also down. Whatchamacallit? I was starting to say Sherry is downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Randy Lee is in Wisconsin. Actually, Randy Lee was in New Jersey, and it would have been kind of cool to have kind of had time to meet up with him too. But unfortunately, I'm actually saying good evening. I just landed back from a flight out of New Jersey, of all places. Yeah, welcome back to Wisconsin, Randy. And
I wonder if Randy had anything to do with my laptop crashing. Seems awfully coincidental.
He isn't. I think he is an IT guy. You better ask him.
I'm telling you.
And whatchamacallit, I think we've covered everybody that's out there. I do want to say hi to Matt. Matt, I'll work to get you back, but not right now. And Randy's saying it was. Well, at least he came clean, Ross.
I can see that.
Yeah. And I do want to say thank you to Sherry for filling in last week. She did an awesome job, and she was going to be our co-host, but then of course, you had the stuff that came up, so I didn't kind of sprung it on her, but she actually was up for the challenge, and then she did a great job. So thank you, hon.
Yeah, I was watching on my phone for about 2 seconds. The just to see if you went through with it. I didn't know if the show was going to be on. Yeah. I had to do everything through I don't even know how to use my phone, and I had to do everything through my phone for like 2 weeks. What a nightmare.
And the funny thing is, with the phone, for you folks out there, I kind of freaked you out because I said, "Hey, Ross, I saw that you were out there."
Yeah. And I thought, how did he know I was out there?
Randy's saying for recovery.
Yeah. He's telling the guy who doesn't know how to use an iPhone to send him Bitcoin. It's like, now I've got homework. I have to find out what Bitcoin is now. I have a vague idea of what it is, but come on, that's 21st century. Leave that alone.
The alternate form of currency.
Keep me out of it.
Jeff Rubel's out there joining us from Utah. Welcome, Jeff. Jeff is going to tell you, he's going to say, go watch the Omega Man. You'll find out what Bitcoin is, Ross.
Yeah.
So anyway, welcome everyone. So Ross and I, one of the other things we were going back and forth and
for
hours and hours, and a lot of thought went into this movie, folks, because we were trying to figure out what to do. Now, this is the funny part of it all. Ross is the guy that is always good with, Santa Claus, shoots, or rather the devil shoots Santa Claus on Christmas Eve, or, Santa Claus drowns on Christmas Day. But with the New Year coming, he did not want to do a depressing movie. So all of my suggestions kind of got shot down because we wanted to go in with a lot of New Year cheer and a lot of positivity as opposed to what we do on Christmas Day. So with that said, and I do have to agree with Ross. It is great to start off the new year. I mean, I remember twisting his arm saying, but we should really do the Poseidon Adventure because it takes place on New Year's Eve to Christmas Day. But I mean, it's like the ship sinks and it goes down like the Titanic. But anyway,
yeah, we already did that one though.
Well,
but I think we probably did it on New Year's. I'm not sure though. I think we did the one year.
We did.
Yeah.
But you were like, don't do it.
Yeah. Well, this one, it turns out, it actually is a New Year's movie because it begins and ends where it's bookended by the New Year party.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. So with that said, it was really appropriate, and it is a positive movie. It's a very thought-provoking movie. It has really, it's classified as a sci-fi movie because of the sci-fi elements, but I wouldn't really say that it's a sci-fi movie per se in the traditional sense. And it's more of a modern movie. I mean, we concentrate on the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s on this show because essentially that's my era. I don't want to speak for you, Ross, but I think that's pretty much your era too. When we start crossing the line into like the 90s, it's like, whoa. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just, even watching this film, when I started watching it, I was just like, with some of the way the film techniques and I don't know, I'm stuck in the past. I mean, that's what it basically comes down to. I mean, there are good films, and this was a very enjoyable movie, but it's just that. In fact, I was just talking to Glenn Warkala, my father-in-law, at a whatchamacallit, this afternoon at Tommy's graduation party. Congratulations, Tommy, again, for graduating from college. And the whole point is we were talking about sci-fi films and just how the decades have changed with each of the filmmaking techniques, because it's like we've said it before, every decade has its tone. And it's like when you watch movies that are made even more so like today, it's like they jump around. It's like every scene is just going from one point to another. It's like, I don't know, it's almost like filmmakers are, and I'm not saying everybody, but the current day filmmakers, at least the filmmakers that don't have an appreciation for our genre, for our time, and maybe are a lot younger than we are. I don't know. I think they're worried about the attention span of the individuals that are watching movies. It's like everything has to be so quick, and it's like they don't want to take their time to go from one scene to another or set up a shot. It's like you just, pace back and forth. Have you noticed that, Ross?
Of course I have. Yeah. One of the movies I suggested was Arrival, and that's a little slower. But I like this. What was interesting about this movie is there were no special effects, really.
Yes,
I mean, the time travel was just kind of a, Hitchcock used to call it a MacGuffin. It was an excuse to have something to get the plot moving. It wasn't really about time. It was about time travel, but not really about time travel. You know what I mean? It was more about how we use our time, how we appreciate our lives, and what the ideal day would be, and what we should notice what's going on in the world around us more and appreciate it. But it's interesting because it was like a meet cute. You know what I mean? It's a romantic, not like comedy at times, but it's a meet cute that has more serious philosophical and moral and ethical overtones and questions to it, and yet it's really not deep at the same time. You know what I mean? It asks. It goes deeper than a romantic comedy, but it's all fairly obvious stuff. But it makes you think, because it's you get into situations when you're changing time and who you're letting in on the secret, and like how much of that is ethical, and then you start thinking, well, what would I do with the ability to travel through time? How would I handle that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's very thought provoking, and
Yeah.
it definitely asks the question, especially I think all of us at one point or another in our lives have asked the question, if I could go back, would I change things? And I actually posted that on the show's on the page.
Yeah.
And a few people responded. Some people said, and one person, Steve Pelock, even said, he wouldn't change anything, which, and I get it. And the film kind of captures that, because there's the danger. I mean, what do they call it? The butterfly effect. It's like, it's almost like the rules, don't disturb the timeline, because if you do, then there's going to be potentially an alternate reality that's going to take place. And it touches upon that. And to your point about the morality aspects, it's do you do this or don't you do this? And the main character in this is, Tim is faced with that when he's going back in time and inadvertently tries to do a good deed. It's at least the first time he tries to correct something that went, astray on the original timeline, and, no good deed goes unpunished. But by correcting that deed, then what happens is it has the effect of disrupting everything else that he had experienced, and then he has to go back and try to correct it. So
Right. And it happens more than once, but it's refreshingly small scale the way they do it. It doesn't like just, change the earth, kind of thing. It's more about a very personal impact to the people he knows and loves, which is kind of cool, because it's like Bill Nighy, who plays his dad toward the beginning of the film, when he reveals this ability to time travel by the men in the family, the ability to travel through time. He says, well, there's certain limitations. Like, I can't go back and kill Hitler. and I can't go shag Helen of Troy. It has to be within your own life that you can travel back and forth. The moments that you have lived, you can go back to. So, but then you find out about certain limitations as the movie goes on. And then a couple of times the movie even kind of violates the limitations that were set up in the film. Gets you thinking about, any time travel film equals, they're always there's always something that's going to be a plot hole or a inconsistency when they start playing around with that stuff.
It's potentially a recipe for disaster. I mean, I could have done we didn't do an all, set up an all roads lead to Star Trek, and really The City on the Edge of Forever, where McCoy goes back in time, he trips up the timeline and saves Edith Keeler, and all of time has changed. It's similar with that, but it's not to this scale. To your point, it's essentially within his realm, his people that are close to him, or anything that is close to him, or any people that he has contact with. It's just a very personal type of situation. It's not like it's going to, throw everything else out of joint. And it was interesting how his father sets that up. And it's almost like laying down the rules of the game and saying, this is what you can do. This is what you can do. This is what you can't do. And you know what, if you do this, it's better that you don't. And it's kind of vague, but essentially it sets the pace and the tone for the rest of the movie, which again works very well.
Yeah. And it's, there is a kind of wisdom to be attained, or that is attained. Like your person who commented on your page about how they wouldn't change anything, because that's kind of ultimately where you find your happiness, it seems, in the film. The director and the writer was Richard Curtis. And if you're familiar with Richard Curtis's work, then you go, oh, aha, of course, because this is the guy who did Love Actually and Notting Hill. There were so many times I expected Hugh Grant to be playing the lead because the way the lines were delivered, the lines were written. Yeah, it's just so much of that kind of, and Four Weddings and a Funeral. This is somebody who's worked with Hugh Grant numerous times, and Bill Nighy numerous times. Bill Nighy is like his good luck charm. I think he's been in most of the things that this guy has done. He played the burnout rocker in Love Actually, and he's brilliant. He's always good. I don't know that in throughout his career, he's brilliant. I don't know if he's brilliant in this movie. He's very good in this movie. And there's sentiment, there's this, it might be too saccharine for some.
Right.
But I mean, I'm a cynical guy, but I can buy into, some good old fashioned sentiment, with the father-son relationship and, and just, I don't know. It's kind of refreshing to see something that's not kind of nihilistic and grim. There's so many time travel movies where you're fighting Terminators. and Linda Hamilton's hanging onto a chain link. What is it?
I said hint. Terminator 2 was one of the suggestions that I threw.
Yeah, I guess so. You have Linda Hamilton hanging onto a chain link fence and she gets her skin blown off by a nuclear blast or whatever. Happy New Year, everybody. Have a drink of milk around the liquid metal cop. Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, but I don't know. So it's kind of like the director even described it when talking about it at some point. It's almost like an anti-time travel movie because there's no big flashy DeLorean, travel to 88 miles per hour or whatever to get back in time. And I guess they had explored doing something like that, but then he realized it was and it kind of got it's supposed to be a more intimate movie. It wasn't supposed to be, about the time travel so much, the effects. and more about the people. So I think it was a wise decision, even though ultimately it probably was the budget that determined it in the end. Yeah. And the cast, it's one of these British casts where you've seen everybody from the Harry Potter movies and Downton Abbey and The Crown. It's like those are the three things I think that are keeping the British actors eating. They're all cycling through all three of those, and they all turn up in this movie.
Yeah. Here's how would you pronounce his name, Ross?
Probably Domhnall.
Domhnall? Yeah.
Domhnall Gleeson, who's the son of what's his name? Not Dominic Gleeson. What's his name? He was in the Harry Potter films, and among other things, but he was just in the Banshees of Innisfree, Banshees of Inisheer, I think.
I know it's on the tip
Brendan
of my
Gleeson. Brendan Gleeson's the actor.
Yes.
Yeah, that's his father. I didn't realize that. So he played one of the Weasley brothers in the Harry Potter films, and his father, his real life father, played whatever the heck his name was, Mad Eye, whatever, and his twin or whatever. I can't remember now. It's been a while since I've seen the Harry Potter films too. You want to know something scary? I think I've seen this movie before.
Have you really?
I only remember the beginning and the end of the movie. I can't remember the middle of the movie. Maybe I saw it on cable. So it's possible I didn't see the whole thing. There's Bill Nye.
Bill Nye, yeah.
And he's in everything. I mean, he's in Hollywood blockbusters, but he's in a lot of smaller British movies too.
Did you ever see Pirates of the Caribbean?
I saw the first one.
He was in that, and I didn't even realize he was in that.
Yeah, I knew he was in the series at some point. I can't remember. That's a movie I saw a long time ago and not even in the theater. I think I got it from Netflix or something back when you had to get it in the mail.
Right. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's Robbie.
Yeah. Margot Robbie. Yeah, that was a surprise. Yeah, and I could have sworn that what's his name? Karen, the guy that was in boy, I'm not remembering anything tonight. In Oppenheimer, Karen Cillian Murphy. I could have sworn he was in this movie as the ne'er-do-well boyfriend of his sister, but it wasn't. It was another actor. He had to kind of look to him. And I thought, oh my goodness, so we're getting Margot Robbie and Cillian Murphy in early roles. But Margot
Sherry just commented. She said the acting was good in this movie, not one bad actor.
Yeah.
Really
That was the thing. Yeah, it was really more about the characters and the actors than it was the time travel.
Hey, I want to say hi to Bill. Bill's joining us. Hey, Bill. Thanks for being out there tonight. Bill's joining us from Harmony, New Jersey. And Randy said before, you're not stuck in the past. You're enjoying a timeless era. Thank you. Thank you for that, Randy. We appreciate that. And thank you for the stars, Randy. Thank you for putting that through. Really appreciate that, the support of the show. Yeah, I mean, excellent cast, excellent acting, and they handled it very, very well. And then also the sister was what was it? Kit Kat was Lydia Wilson. I thought she did a really good job too. I mean, she was just kind of, and the relationship between her and Tim, her brother, Domhnall Gleeson. I thought that was done very, very well.
I know a startling number of people that are like her. It would surprise you to know. I think her story took a little darker turn than I expected.
Yeah.
But she was. Some of the questions that come up, like I said, it's like if you could change anything, what would you change? How could time travel be abused? How is it abused in the movie? Because there are a lot of temptations in that they don't explore.
Right.
It's like, wouldn't you be tempted to just go back and keep revisiting your happiest days?
Well, let me ask you a question, and I'm curious because there was some things that were a little bit unclear that take place in this film.
Right.
So Bill Nighy tells, the father, and that's James Lake. He tells Tim when he's going over everything and telling him about the time travel and almost, the rules that apply to this, he says you can travel backward, but you can't go into the future. So
Right.
my question is, when they go back in time
Yeah.
and experience that moment that they're trying to experience, do they have to relive everything all through to get to the point that they were at, or do they just go in for that one moment,
Yeah.
enjoy that moment, and then fast forward back to where they were?
I think that that's what it is. Otherwise, it would be just ridiculous. I think they can go back and then forward, but they can't actually go into the future beyond from where they're living.
Right.
You know, they can only go to the present time. But there are dangers we find out inherent to this. Like you can't go back earlier than the birth of your child,
Right.
because it'll screw up screw up everything. You don't want to do that, and yet they violate it.
Yeah, because he finds out that Pokey is not, or Posse is not Posse.
yeah. But they get away with it in one of the scenes, one of the more sentimental scenes in the film. Which interestingly, the younger version of Domhnall Gleeson was played by the director's son. Yeah, his actual son. So it was kind of self-reflective. To have the father-son relationship, and then behind the camera with the father and the son. So
there's the moment. I have to say that was probably one of my favorite moments in the movie, and when I watched that, I got really teary-eyed. It really choked me up. With that taking place. I mean, and it was like literally right at the end, but I was it really overcame me on that.
It's kind of like a Field of Dreams moment, or the end of Cinema Paradiso, even though it's not really his father. It's kind of his mentor, but it's that kind of, thing where it just kind of hits you, that relationship.
Yeah.
And the significance it held. Because, I mean, I don't want to spoil the movie if nobody's seen it. It's worth seeing. Don't go into it expecting, what's his name from the 1960 from Time Machine.
Oh, with Rod Taylor.
Don't go into expecting Rod Taylor. It's not like that.
No, not at all.
Although that's another good New Year.
Well, we covered that.
Didn't we do that on New Year's one year? Yeah, because it takes place on New Year's Day. But it really, it's not, like Roy says, it's not hard sci-fi. It's more, it has a fantastic element of sci-fi, but it's
story driven.
It's story driven, and they couldn't tell the story without the time travel. But when he first set out to tell the story, it was basically somebody asked him about what his perfect day would be or whatever. Asked him if he was happy with his life, the director. And he said, well, not really. And they said, well, what's your ideal day? And he realized at the moment that the day he was living was pretty much his ideal day. He was having a good time at lunch with a friend, and it got him thinking about writing the screenplay. And then he got the idea to include the time. He said, this is going to interest anybody. So he put the time travel in it to make it more interesting. And so, it's just a meditation on time and how you use your time and how you can abuse time travel. Maybe try to make things better through time travel and still screw things up. Yeah.
And the importance of living every day as though it's
right.
It's as almost like it's like your first, you've done it before, and making sure that you really thrive in the moment and don't let it squander and don't let it become a part of the past. Live in the present. So
right.
It's very I'm escaping for words at the moment too.
Yeah. Well, there's the classic play Our Town.
Yes.
Which we all, read in high school. But a Pulitzer Prize winning play. And there's that famous line with Emily, when she says a ghost or whatever, after her death, and she looks back on, she wants to revisit the one perfect day of her life, or one characteristic day in her life, and goes back. And she comments, she says, do any human beings ever realize life while they live it? Every minute. And that's what the movie's about, realizing every minute. And it's impossible, of course, but right. We should just be more grateful with we're it's not just willful selfishness. It's just all of the things in life that get in the way. You have your anxieties, you have the things you got to get done. You get irritable about stuff. But since this guy is able to go back and relive some of the days, he gets all that out of the way the first time through, and he can go back and just kind of enjoy the day, knowing that the certitude that everything's going to turn out okay.
Well, and at one point too, I just read the comment that Sherry put. At the one point, they
share it. Yeah.
No, I will. I'm going to come back. Hold that. I'm going to hold that point. At one point, though, he's going through his day and he's very cynical about what he's experiencing. But then what he does is when he revisits it, he's enjoying the moment and really having fun with it. I want to say hi to Eva. Eva's out there. Hey, Eva. Thanks for joining. Happy New Year to you, too. Hope you're doing okay. And Shari said it's about seeing the positive and not the negative in anything. And then as I was starting to explain everything, Shari said, "Be careful, Roy. You're sounding like the end of the Saturday morning show ISIS. Lots of laughs." With the moral at the end of the story.
Right.
I love those episodes, though, obviously. But, and here's an example. Just, you go through a routine. You're driving to work, let's say, and you do it day after day, and you go the same route, and you just you're fixated. You're focused on the road, obviously, but on a specific day, if you just enjoy the moment, and instead of looking straight ahead, obviously you're driving, but if you actually maybe pull over, or if you take a look to the left, and where we're at, there's nothing but fields about maybe a half a mile up the road. And when you see the open land and everything, and then, for example, last week, there were snowbirds. There were probably over 1,000 snowbirds just laying on the ground. It almost looked like they were roosting, but they were looking for food, as Shari was saying. And just taking that in and just enjoying that moment. There was a guy that had his camera out, and he was taking with a high powered lens, and he was photographing it, and it's just watching that, or seeing the sunrise, seeing the sunset that's taking place at different points in the day. You really can just enjoy those moments, and those are things that are constantly happening to us, but we're caught in our day to day, like you were saying, things that are happening. If you have anxiety that's happening, or you have different areas of points of stress. But when you do have the opportunity to just hit the brakes, even if it's for 60 seconds or maybe 5 minutes, and you just look around, it really can be a rewarding experience. And it's something that I think a lot of us don't do. I know I don't do it all that much, but when you do, it really can be a very positive experience.
Well, even being present with your loved ones.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You're always not always, but you're often. There are times when you're half there because you're worried about other things or thinking about other things. We spend so much of our lives either, we time travel in our heads. It's either all about the past or all about the future, and so seldom about the present.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure Yoda would have something to say about that.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
But now, do you think you saw this? You were saying before.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I but then I thought maybe it was another Bill Nye movie, because he made a couple movies like this. Apparently, Rachel McAdams has made multiple time travel movies.
This is her fourth time travel movie. Now, did you ever see the film? What was it? The Time Traveler's Wife?
I did not. I remember it was a book,
Right.
but I didn't even know they had made it into a movie.
Yeah.
I did see Midnight in Paris.
Okay.
A couple of times. I've seen this one now. Doctor Strange too. I've not seen Doctor Strange, but she was in that one, and apparently it was a time travel element.
We did see Doctor Strange, and I'm trying to remember her in that, and I'm having a problem.
Yeah.
And also, she did The Notebook, which I didn't see The Notebook. I don't know if you saw that, but I guess that was with Ryan Gosling. She did that.
Okay. I can't remember if I saw it or just part of it. It just kind of. I didn't see it in the theater, so it would have been, I don't know, Netflix, cable, something like that.
She's a Canadian actress, though, and she's playing an American in this film, which I thought was interesting too. But Yeah, I thought she did a really good job with the part.
Scandalous. Yeah. Yeah. I thought she did well too. And you know what? I looked her up and she's something like 45, 46 now. So she would have been in her mid 30s when she made this movie. And, I don't know
Yeah,
how old she's supposed to be in the film, but I thought you know what though? It's like mid 30s is nothing. I still looked young when I was in my mid 30s. I looked young until I was about 50 and then it all just fell apart. I feel fine, but I look terrible.
we were joking. We were doing a Space 1999 podcast. In fact, Warren and I were doing it with Lou, who's out there. We were doing it yesterday, and the subject we brought up about Barry Morse. Now, Barry Morse played Victor Bergman, and now if anybody remembers the television series The Fugitive, if you're not a Space 1999 fan out there, he was Inspector Gerard, who was going after David Jansing, Dr. Kimball. And anyway, long story short, when Barry Morse did 1999, Professor Bergman, he was 55 years old. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like I'm older than what Barry Morse was when he was Bergman. It's like, like to think you're, like Alan Carter's age or, Tony Vedesci, they're in their 30s. It's like, yeah, that ain't happening.
Yeah,
you're up there with the professor now. And I'm not talking about the professor from Gilligan's Island because he was only like 38.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, so often we're at least 5 years older than these old guys that we always saw growing up.
I know, it's terrible. Yeah. Hey, Martin's joining us from New York. Martin, welcome. Good to see you out there. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And Michelle just said Barry was a sweetheart, total opposite of Lieutenant Gerard. Yeah, no, he was. God rest his soul. He was so nice. Such a pleasant person to meet. But anyway, yeah. And now also talking about some of the actors with Dominic Gleeson. I mean, he's done a lot of stuff. And Sherry was even saying to me, she's like, where do I know him from? Where do I know him from? And I'm like, and then I realized the Harry Potter films, he was in those.
Right.
He did a Black Mirror episode, and if any Sci-Fi connections there. But also, if you're a Star Wars fan, not necessarily the third trilogy, but a Star Wars fan, he was playing one of the generals in General Vox, I think it was.
Oh my goodness! So he was the primary villain in the third trilogy there. He was the redheaded guy then.
Yes, that was him.
No, I didn't even the ginger. I didn't even really draw the connection.
Yeah, that was
what a waste of talent.
Yeah. Tell me what you really think about the trilogy, Ross.
Yeah, well, that's they do. I mean, it's like Bill Nye showing up in the Pirates movie. They got to make money too.
Right.
It's like America's where they're going to make the U.S. is where they're going to make their big bucks. They get all the good roles back in England and do all those little quality projects, but they don't get paid very much.
Right.
That's why they all try to move here, live in California. So yeah, so that's something. I didn't get a chance to look up his bio. That was him. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
You blew my mind.
Yeah, he's 41, so he's actually about 5 years younger than Rachel McAdams. But okay. So I guess when he did this film, he would have been probably in his late 20s.
Yeah. I can't even remember the third trilogy anymore. I guess I just flushed everything.
No.
I mean, I can remember it, but I thought there would be more of a redemption arc for him for some reason. I guess because they tried to do it for everybody else in that movie, in that series. They didn't know what they were doing with that trilogy. Where are we going with this trilogy? Okay, now we really have no idea where we're going with this trilogy. Let's wrap it up.
Jeff Ribble said, "Yeah, look, it's nice to look 30 when you're 60."
Yeah.
Speaking of the trilogy, it's so funny because when we're digressing, folks. I apologize, but we always like to digress on this show. Thinking of the trilogy when we were like when we were like in our 20s or back in the 80s. Or even the 80s. Yeah. And all the anticipation about Star Wars and what could have been. And then when we finally got it, as far as what they redid, it was almost, for the most part, all intents and purposes, such a letdown. It's just like, you know what? Should have just left it alone.
Yeah. But I don't know how you would have gotten out of the corner they painted it into in the second movie, though. The Last Jedi. Okay. So basically we just sat here for 2.5 hours for nothing. We just totally wasted an installment. So what do we do now to wrap it up and try to get back on track? It was like the greatest Ross or the worst Ross and Roy digression. The Last Jedi. It was like everybody's nightmare, Roy and Ross digression. And then they had to like bring it back and try to like tie it up. Okay, these guys talk nonsense for 2.5 hours. How do we get back on track and conclude the trilogy? And then everybody goes, and then they finish it. And everybody goes, "We hate you, JJ. You did a terrible job."
Oh God. Oh man. I don't know.
Kathleen Kennedy. Disney.
Careful what you ask for, you just might get it.
Yeah.
It's not what I
we're asking for the restored original trilogy is what we're asking for.
Yeah. I keep saying, Ross, 50th anniversary. I'm telling you, it's gonna surface. I'm telling you, those copies are gonna surface.
Only 2 more years, Roy.
Yeah. Yep. Disney is sitting on $1 billion because what they're gonna do is they're gonna unearth it and they're gonna say that they found it, and for a limited time, it's gonna be in high definition. You'll have to go out and get your 4K player, and it'll be for the mere price of like $1,000 for the Blu-ray to own, the original Star Wars as it appeared in the theater back in 1977, and everybody's going to jump on that bandwagon, and it's going to make Disney a lot of money.
Yeah. And everybody will complain about how the channels were reversed or there's color correction and it doesn't look right, and yeah. You know how it is.
I know. But you know what? We're looking forward to it. So let's hope they unearth it, and let's hope that they go for it.
Let's hope it happens.
Yeah. We're waiting. We're waiting on that.
So back to this movie.
Tell us your thoughts in the comments section. We want to know.
Yeah.
Cricket. Our viewership just dropped down to like -2.
Yeah, I kind of thought with this movie that it would, our loyal, viewers might tune in for this, but it wouldn't attract a lot of outside, folks or people who, it's not a movie that's going to generate a lot of enthusiasm,
right?
But is that right? Should it not generate enthusiasm? It was an interesting movie. I think it was an entertaining movie. I think anybody who watches it'll be entertained. No matter what kind of movie they're expecting to see. This Richard Curtis, I mentioned, it did Love Actually, Four Weddings and a Funeral, Notting Hill, that kind of thing. But he was, this guy has his hands all over British comedy, for the past, many decades. He went to school with Rowan Atkinson, and he was a writer for, Mr. Bean and for Blackadder. In fact, he's the only writer who wrote worked on every single episode of Blackadder. So that's interesting, given the direction he went with the romantic comedies after that, comedy dramas, dramedies, or what have you. He was one of the screenwriters for War Horse for Steven Spielberg, which was kind of unusual for him. He didn't write the story. It was based on a play, which he had nothing to do with. And he did the screenplay for Bridget Jones' Diary, which he also did not write. It was based on the novel of Helen Fielding. And he did a TV presentation more recently, The Number One Ladies Detective Agency, which is based on a popular series of detective novels by Alexander McCall Smith. They're set in Africa, and they're kind of like cozy mysteries. But he did the screenplays for that. He's won BAFTAs. He's been nominated. He won an Emmy, and he's been nominated for Academy Awards. So this guy's had a pretty good run. And I didn't even realize until I went down his IMDb credits. I've seen a lot of his movies. I didn't even realize he was connected with all of them. He did a movie called what was it called? Had something to do with the Boat That Rocked. I can't say it was the greatest movie he ever did, but it was about a pirate radio station on an ocean liner, on a ship off the coast of the UK. Because I guess back in the 60s, that's what they did, because they're trying to keep rock off the airwaves, and so they had all these DJs sticking it to the man by broadcasting out of the Atlantic.
Kind of how like we're broadcasting the show right now.
Yeah, exactly. Out of the back of a U-Haul truck that keeps circling, so they can't pinpoint where we are. So it was kind of like
dodging the suits.
yeah. So of course Bill Nye was the guy who ran the place,
Of course.
Yeah, he's kind of his good luck charm.
Now this was actually his last film I read that he did.
Not Bill Nye.
Richard Curtis.
Oh, the last one he directed, you mean?
Directed, yes, not wrote. But
yeah, because he only directed a handful of them, and I think he prefers the screenwriting to the directing, is what it was. He says he didn't want to direct anymore.
Martin said Radio Caroline.
Yeah, it was Richard Griffith's last film. The guy who played what was his name? Vernon, Uncle Vernon in Harry Potter. He was in the beginning of all the Harry Potter movies, and he's done a lot else beside. It's just like how he's most widely seen. But this was his last film, and it was interesting because the other guy he was on stage with, there's that whole subplot where he's got the roommate or the guy that's putting him up, the friend of his dad, that was going to like put him up in, where was he, in London or something?
Yes.
That guy writes a play, and within the play, the two actors that keep screwing up the lines and destroying the prospects of the works, revealing the work's true genius. So he has to keep going back. The main character has to keep going back in time to kind of inform the actors to learn their lines, so that his landlord has his success. But anyway, the two actors that keep forgetting the lines were co-stars in a film called Withnail and I, which I have never seen. I've heard so much about it. It's kind of a cult favorite. But Richard Grant was the one attorney, and the other attorney was Richard Griffiths, who was the Harry Potter Uncle Vernon. And so it was Uncle Vernon's last movie. Mm-hmm. So, speaking of uncles, there was another uncle in the film, and now the father was a professor, and he used the time travel, he said, to do a lot of reading that he wouldn't have had time to do otherwise. So he wound up reading all the Dickens books 3 times, among other things. And there are several Dickens references through the movie, which I thought was interesting. And I didn't see any reviewer point out the fact that the uncle in the movie, the Uncle Desmond, who the father says he's one of the 3 men that he ever loved in his life, the absent-minded uncle, is very much like Mr. Dick in David Copperfield. The absent-minded uncle who can't remember anything and has like almost a delusional grasp of what's going on all the time. There is the father quotes, he reads from Great Expectations at a point. The main character's name is Tim. So I don't know. I mean, Tim is a common British name, but you think Tiny Tim maybe, because there's also kind of a connection to the Christmas Carol with the traveling back with the ghost of Christmas past to look at your past. I don't know if that was in the screenwriter's mind. I didn't. You
know what? That's a great point, Ross. I didn't pick up on that. That's
and I even expected more of that kind of thing. So I was kind of looking for it, but I don't know whether or not that Richard Curtis was playing around with that at all because of the father's appreciation of Dickens. And the fact when he travels back to visit his father at the one point, he is reading Great Expectations. So another interesting.
I found it interesting too, because with the son going back in time, but the father was going back in time. So it's almost like there potentially could be an overlap, because the father was leading up to what was eventually going to happen, but he could actually propel himself back in time to delay the inevitable, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yet the son was going back to have the experiences with him, but yet the father could still have those experiences because he was going back himself. So There was almost a kind of a paradox there, and they quite don't explore that. And what is also interesting is the two of them, along with Tim and his sister Kit Kat, go back together in time.
Right.
So even with that, it's kind of
right. And it's like at no point is there any indication that that's even possible. And you don't know that he thinks it's even possible. They just get into the closet. you know, I mean, he could have showed up with her, you know, nothing but her hand or something.
Right.
Or it would have been Jeff Goldblum in The Fly. They would have come out and they would have been fused as one person or something.
Yeah. Seriously.
But yeah, apparently he was able to travel through time by holding her hand and doing that, which is again a Christmas Carol. Touch my robe, you know,
Right.
take my, you know, and that's what they do. Yeah. They go back together. But what's interesting also is that he lets Kit Kat in on the secret, but he never tells his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mary never knows about this whole time travel thing.
Yeah. I thought
so again, it's like when you get into the, you know, I don't know if it's exactly unethical, but it's kind of, you know, dishonest seems like too strong a word, but he's hiding it from his wife. You know, he never lets, you know, confides in her that he's got this power.
And I was waiting for that. I was waiting for him to come, you know, to come clean and essentially let her know about the secret. And it never happened. And to your point, and there's almost, I don't want to, I think it was innocent. I mean, it was, and I don't want to go in a negative direction, but you know, his relationship with his sister, you know what I mean? Because it was a very tight relationship. So it's a very loving relationship. And but you know, he can, like you said, he confided with the sister, but didn't confide with Mary, so his wife. Yeah.
And even with the wooing of his wife and the winning of his wife, you know, he uses the time travel dishonestly. You know what I mean? Because he corrects his mistakes. He goes back and figures out, because again, without ruining too much of the movie, just broadly speaking, there are several instances where he kind of screws himself and loses contact with her, and he has to kind of get her back. So it's not a madcap movie. It's not like Michael J. Fox running around trying to like patch things up or anything, but it is amusing, entertaining, and a little, you know, compelling and perhaps a little anxiety provoking, because you want this guy to be able to get his life back together, and he's always messing it up. And
I thought it was interesting too when it was when he has a thing for Margot Robbie's character, and while he's growing up as a teenager in his late teens, and when he finds out about time travel, he essentially, what he does is he talks to her first, saying that, you know, he really would like to have asked her out and all this. And then, you know, she basically says, you know, I was warned about you, and, you know, to be, you know, as far as doing that. And then she comes across and says, well, because she's spending the summer with the family. Yeah. So what she basically says is, if you'd asked me sooner, like earlier when I got here, I would have, you know, probably considered it. And it's like, now it's too late. So what he does is he uses the opportunity to go back in time and ask her out towards the beginning of the relationship. And then her response is, well, I think it would have worked better if you waited until the last day. So it's like, you know, talk about rejection. It's like, you know, when somebody doesn't like you, somebody doesn't like you. It's just like, it's coming up. But then, you know, they meet, you know, he develops the relationship with Mary, and then out of nowhere, he runs into Margot Robbie's character. And for a moment, he's almost like considering, you know, going in negative, you know, the negative path, so to speak. But then he realizes that, you know, A, he really doesn't want to do that, and B, how much he loves Mary, and, you know, gets back home and, you know, pops the question.
Yeah. It does make you think, though, with the time travel.
Right. Yeah.
How can this be it's like invisibility. You know, you always think about how people could abuse invisibility, but really time travel. You know, anybody who invents time travel is not going to exploit it to, you know, waste it on such small potatoes as they do in this movie. You know, they're going to totally screw up the timeline immediately. So let's hope they don't. I mean, last year there was some kind of breakthrough where they figured out how they slowed time down by like such a fraction of a moment, you know, but it can be. They realize it can be done, you know. So let's see what happens here.
Are you being for real?
Yeah, but I don't think it had something to do with how light traveled around something. I don't know. It was one of these things where they're not going to harness it in
right.
You know, this is not going to be anything in our lifetimes, I don't think. But
But we can use it for a plot for a movie that we're never going to make, Ross.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, I want to say hi to Vince. Vince is joining us from Stewartsville, New Jersey. Welcome, Vince. And he's saying, I made it start again from the beginning. Well, you know what? Click your heels 3 times, Vince, and maybe you'll wind up in whatchamacallit.
There's no place like home.
No place like home.
Yeah.
Or maybe clench your hands and see if you're part of the bloodline of the Lake family, and go into a dark room and see where it takes you. Maybe you'll get to the beginning of this episode where it all began. Maybe not. Anyway, hey Vince.
Hey, another thing that I thought was interesting was the restaurant they went to.
Yes,
where they meet cute.
Yes. And you know what's interesting is there were a few of these places, I guess, in throughout the world, and this restaurant actually existed in New York City for some time, but it went under after, I think it was only for a very short time. I don't know, it was like 12 months or something. It was, but I was very, I mean, it's almost like a way, like a blind date, and you're literally being served by a blind person, and you're eating in the dark, and you're not even sure when you're eating, and it's a way of pretty much, doing like a meeting type of scenario. I thought that was
they lead you into just a totally pitch black subterranean room, and you're served by blind waiters, and it's pitch, you can't see anything, and you think, well, what kind of like strange device is this? But it really is a restaurant that the director had gone to, and so he decided to work it into the movie. And it's in several countries. It was founded in France. They have one in London, and they had one in New York briefly. But I guess there were too many people probably afraid they would get mugged, so they closed the one in New York. I don't know if that's true, but do you want to sit in the dark with a bunch of New Yorkers? I don't know.
Hey, Jerry, thanks for joining us. Yes, in fact, we were talking about Rachel McAdams earlier about the time traveler's wife. But thanks for sharing the comment. And welcome and Happy New Year, Jerry. Happy New Year to you too, Vince. Sorry, I didn't get to say that before.
Yeah, Happy New Year to everybody.
Yeah.
Whoop-de-doo. Yeah.
No. Hold on one second. One of the things I wanted to talk about was Did you see a lot of movies in 2013, Ross?
2013. You're asking me if I saw a lot of movies 11 years ago?
Yeah. Well, if I said it was 1977, you'd be rattling them off.
12 years ago. Yeah, I know. I don't know what was out that year.
I'm glad you asked that, Ross, because with that said, I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit. And one of the things we've done on the show is That's the Way It Was, in honor of Walter Cronkite. So this film debuted on November 1st of 2013.
Wow.
But the top 5 films that were released at that time were The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Thor, The Dark World, Frozen, The Best Man Holiday, and Ender's Game.
Yeah. And now, unlike every other one of these things that you do where I say I saw 5 of those in the theater, I have not seen any of these movies. So some of them I've never heard of. And I can't believe it was so long ago, because I do remember when Ender's Game was out. So that was 11 years ago.
Yeah, I can't believe it was 11 years ago too.
And Frozen also. I don't think I've seen Frozen yet. Maybe I have. Who knows?
Yeah, that's. Yeah.
Isn't it funny? Because everything from back in the day, I remember every scene of everything if I've seen it once. Now it's just like it just rolls off of me.
Yeah, that's why, folks, you won't catch us covering a lot of the current stuff. It's not going to happen. Again, this film is it's like an anomaly, and it's a cute film, and it has a lot of deep meaning. And as Shari was saying earlier, the acting was superb. But as far as going beyond that, I mean, and that's what a movie is supposed to be. It's supposed to be entertaining. You're supposed to enjoy it. But this is, I felt like a fish out of water. It's crazy. I don't know. But anyway, Linda. Oh, I want to say hi to Linda. She's joining us from Western Canada. Welcome, Linda.
Welcome.
Happy New Year. Thanks for being out there. But yeah, I would say if you have not seen this film, definitely to check it out. It was very entertaining, and I also want to see, talking about films that are taking place, more current. The Time Traveler's Wife. I think that would be interesting to see. Interesting to see how Rachel McAdams did in that film, and see if there's any similarities to the story. But what about? And I'm really jumping ahead, Ross. What about the music for this movie?
I knew you were going to ask me that as I was watching it. And said music by so and so. I have no idea. I didn't notice any music in the movie.
Nick Lard Klaus.
Yeah, and I know it's terrible, but I didn't even look the guy up. Yeah, because this is one of those movies where, and there are so many of them, where they, in the significant scenes, so often they go to a pop tune.
Okay.
And they allow that to carry the emotion. If there was any underscoring, I didn't really notice it that much, although they said that, he was the composer.
Right.
I should have at least looked the guy up, but I didn't.
That's okay. I just thought.
My apologies to Mr. Laird Close.
No, that's okay. I did have some of the facts up just to kind of bounce around. I was just in case. I mean, because but I guess he was involved with the scoring for The Invisible Circus in 2001, film directed by Adam Brooks, and Cameron Diaz was in it. Again, like a fish out of water with that.
Does it look like he has a guitar under his arm, or what is that there?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's a popular musician, or I don't know what kind of music he's normally associated with, where he's coming from.
Gotcha.
You can Google it, folks. You don't need me.
He worked as a composer and music consultant with Richard Curtis for this film.
Okay.
Well, there we go.
Musical consultant. Yeah, there was a lot of pop stuff going on, and there was an artist who appeared actually in the movie in the subway scenes. Remember when they did the montage?
Yes.
And he was always busking in the London Underground. Yeah.
In the tube.
Not this guy, I don't think, but somebody was. Maybe it was this guy. I don't know.
Yeah, but he his it says in regards to his vocal instruments is guitar. He's 67 years old.
Oh yeah, it was a younger guy. I don't think it was. Oh well, he's 67 now.
Yeah,
this would have been 11. Yeah, still it was a younger guy. It wasn't a guy he would have been our age 11 years ago or whatever.
Right, formerly of the Dream Academy. So I guess he was part of that.
There you go.
Actually, who might know Martin? Because Martin is from the UK. So. But anyway, not to take away, not to diminish. Linda is saying, "Hey, fellas, and
hey,
Happy New Year." Thanks.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us at any point, the reason I look like death warmed over is not from the holidays, although maybe partially so. It's because my laptop died, and we're messing with this new laptop, and I don't know how to warm up the image. I had to turn out all the lights because I just looked hideous. It was just totally bleached out, it looked like everything had been left out in the sun.
Yeah, no, it's all good. And there's nothing worse than dealing with new technology and trying to get things together. And Ross, I know you have a lot of files and everything, so I hope all that gets sorted out.
Yeah, we're working on data retrieval.
It's very
and cool. Also, I was complaining to Roy before we started the show. I'm always one of these guys that hangs on. This will surprise you to know. I hang on to the old stuff as long as I possibly can. So anytime I get hit with offers to upgrade or whatever, I always reject it. And I stave it off. I'm like Indiana Jones trying to outrun the boulder, but as soon as that laptop went and I put this one on, it's like, oh no, it's Windows 11. No, not Windows 11. And suddenly it's like, you have no room in your email. You have to pay for everything. Oh, you have no room in the cloud. You have to pay for everything. Pay. And it's like, on the old system, all I had to do is reject, deny, reject. And I still had, basically, all the power that you used to have before Windows 11 and money in the bank. And now it's just like, I just got done cleaning out an absurd number of emails out of my not Outlook account, my Hotmail account. That's how old.
Hotmail. What's that, Ross?
I know. I held on to
Dinosaur.
the Hotmail account the whole time. Now Outlook's gotten a hold of it, and then like suddenly, so I got it down to whatever limit they said, and then it jumped up on me again. It's like I didn't even get any more email. They're just saying no. Even if you can get it down to nothing, we're going to charge you. So currently, I can't get or send any email apparently. So that's a wonderful thing to do for your professional life.
The suits have latched on, Ross.
And you know what? It's funny. I went to the smartphone only a year ago, and it was only within the last few weeks that I finally set up my email on the phone. And thank goodness I did, because at least I could still communicate. I didn't have anything on there. I didn't have the Facebook. I didn't have email or anything on my phone. I just used it to dial. I didn't even text.
You basically use the phone for the purposes of it being a phone.
Yeah. So I there was really a learning curve in the last couple of weeks. So they threw me out of the nest.
Yeah, man, you didn't sink, you swam. So it's just like the waters are choppy.
I'm struggling, and I just bored everybody at the end of the show.
No, it's all good. Hey, and one of the cool things about the iPhone is when we're doing these shows, I can actually, and I mentioned this earlier, if folks jump on and they actually don't type, I can see who's out there because they've kind of logged onto the page. So just want to say hi to the folks that I'm not addressing, and thanks for being out there. And please feel free to just say a comment and just, let us know you're out there and say hi, and I'll definitely say hi back. And if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to the show, either like and follow. We would love to have that added, and it is very much appreciated. And there is no charge for that, but it definitely, helps with getting the content out. And I see the Haig is out there. Hey, John, Happy New Year. Good to see you out there. Welcome.
Just at the end. So how do you know when people are out there? It just shows up because that was weird to me. You can never tell when I was on my laptop, but it says
no. And years ago on the laptop, on the computer, it would say so and so is viewings or is watching. It'll say so and so is watching. So on the iPhone, because I have the page running while I'm looking down just to check to make sure there's no issues. It'll say so-and-so is watching. And that's how I knew you were out there. And I just happened to look down and I saw you, and I didn't mean to freak you out.
Yeah. See, it's creepy. You can't even spy on your friends anymore.
No, there you go. But again, it's appreciated. So, all right. And yeah. And actually, speaking of which, I want to say hi to my 6th grade teacher, Mr. Ron Marina. Ron is out there. So Ron, thanks for being out there.
From Lopakon?
From Lopakon days, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And Ron, I don't know if you knew or if you watched the show, but Ross is Joe Metz's cousin. So there's the connection with Joe Metz. So
I know all about.
Yeah, we have to have Joe back on the show too.
Yeah.
In the near future.
I know all about the last plot.
Yeah, the last plot. God, it's crazy.
I've been meaning to reach out to Joe for the holidays, but never got around to it.
Yeah, I actually talked to him. I talked to him on New Year's Eve, and it was brief, but I got to connect with him. So he's doing okay. He's been busy as well, just like all of us. But he did say to say hi to Ross. So
well, good.
And Michelle saying all roads lead to Ross.
Yeah, it's all about me, Michelle. It's all about me. All time travel leads to me.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But I guess if you haven't seen this film, definitely check it out. Usually and Ross is a little bit on guard and say, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but this is a relatively young movie by the films that we usually talk about. I mean, this film is only 12 years old. So if you haven't seen this movie, definitely check it out. We were kind of hesitating on giving any spoilers away, but when we do discuss the film, spoiler alert to everybody out there, we are going to talk about the plot and, give things away. But again, with this film being relatively new, that's pretty scary too, Ross, to say that 12 years ago is like not that long ago. Because in essence, 12 years is a long time ago. Well,
I think about all that stuff from when we were kids, like 2001: A Space Odyssey was already a classic to us, but it was only 10 years old, at the point that we were crazy for it.
You know what? It's funny you're bringing that movie up. I learned that 2001, it came out in 68, but it was actually shot, or at least parts of it were shot in 65
Mm.
because Gary Lockwood, who was in it, and maybe we even discussed this because I know we talked, in fact, talking about Joe, we had Joe on to talk about 2001. That was the three of us.
Mm.
He had just committed to doing the Star Trek Second Pilot, Where No Man Has Gone Before, which incidentally turned 60 years old this year in July. If you can believe that. So, but anyway, yeah. So if you have any last minute comments, folks, please post them out. Love to hear your comments. Hope everybody had a happy new year. I'm just going to do the shout outs real quickly. Again, when it came to favorite scenes from this movie, this was probably my favorite scene right there. I just thought that was wonderful. But going to go to the shout outs, and I can't even do a Starlog magazine tie-in with this film because Starlog actually, the last issue I think was in 2008. So
you would have had to go back in time to get in Starlock.
Exactly. So want to give a shout out to my friend Bill Scrotto. Bill is with Country Gate Players in Belvedere, New Jersey, and bringing great theater to the community. If you have the opportunity to be in Belvedere, New Jersey area, the shows for 2025 are being thought out as we speak. However, the website, just so you can check it out, is www.countrygate.org. Also, Bill does a lot of really cool and interesting projects. You can visit his website, which is www.billscrotto.com. Now, what is going to be taking place is going to be a murder mystery, and this is going to be at the Belvedere Manor. This will be on Saturday, February 8th. Doors open at 6 p.m. If you are interested in tickets, you can call 610-248-7285. This is you must be 21 to see this. So there's adult humor, adult material, just so you know. And it is at the Belvedere Manor in Belvedere, New Jersey, and it will be Country Gate Players performing in the show. So definitely check that out. Also want to give a shout out to our friends Mike and Mary Beth at Sci-Fi Distilled. They will be on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, which is January 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They have not decided on what they're going to be doing yet, so just stay tuned for that to check them out. Also, our friend Captain Phil from Captain Phil's Planet. He is with WUSB 90.1 FM, Stony Brook, New York, and he is on alternating Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. That would be this coming Thursday, and then he's also on Fridays from 9 to 11:30 p.m., and you can stream him on the internet. Also, my friend Mr. Jeffrey Morris, who is doing the Eagle Obsession Project, actually film, that will be premiering this year, 2025. For information on the film, you can go to www.eagledocumentary.com, and it's going to be pretty cool. So just check it out, and there will be updates. In fact, I'll be bringing up about Jeffrey in a moment. Again, also our friend Lou Place, who's out there. Lou has completed his film, which is Found in Space, and it's available for streaming on YouTube. I will post the URL in the comments section, or Lou, if you want to share it in the comments, please do so. I actually got to work on this film with Lou, and it was just a lot of fun. So definitely check it out, and you'll have fun watching this movie. And also, I want to give a shout out to my son Ryan, who has a site which is Run by Ryan, Empower Your Run. He does online coaching, and he's a service provider for that. You can visit the website at www.runbyryan.com. There is no charge for signing up for it, but there are tier levels if you do want to go further into it. So definitely check that out. Also, a shout out to Martha from Studio One Thrift. The physical store location is outside Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. And also the website to sign up is www.studio1thrift.com. For details, visit the website, and you can receive styling tips and information updates on the availability of the merchandise at the location. And it's pretty cool. Also, I was bringing up about Warren and my friend Warren Friedrich. we are doing a podcast of Space 1999, and it's called This Episode. And we just did the latest episode, which was for The Last Sunset that dropped at midnight. Definitely check it out. It's on YouTube as well as, excuse me, Facebook. In fact, Lou, who's out there, was on last night with us, and you can see Lou and myself and Warren discussing The Last Sunset. It was a lot of fun. Also, talking about Star Trek earlier, it's Star Trek Original Series Set Tour. William Shatner is coming back, folks, and he will be there June 27th and June 28th of this year, which is a Friday and Saturday. If you have never seen him up in Ticonderoga, you definitely want to. And if you've never even been up to Ticonderoga to see the Star Trek Original Series sets, you're not going to want to miss it. Please visit the website, which is www.startrektour.com. Ticonderoga is going to be celebrating its 10th anniversary this year as well, too. So stay tuned for information. You'll see it posted on the website. It's just totally amazing what James Cawley has done with the fan support and everything, and you definitely will want to check it out. And Ross, if you can let everybody know what you've got going on and the 3 different shows that you do.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. It's too early in the week, but these are the 3 shows I've got that stream from KWAX. Picture Perfect's the movie music show. That's Friday at 8 o'clock. Sweetness and Light is the light music show, light classical music, and that's Saturday mornings at 11. And The Lost Chord is unusual and neglected classical music, and that's Saturday nights at 7. And you can stream them at KWAX, kwax.uoregon.edu, and I preview them on the day the shows air on my Facebook page at Classic Ross Amico. And I try to write something musical on the Facebook page every day. So if you haven't followed me and you're interested in reading some interesting posts, consider doing so, please. And thank you.
Thanks, Ross.
Thanks.
Alrighty. So just to give an update, folks, as far as things that are going to be coming up, January is actually going to be a kind of a busy month with the show. There's a lot of things that are planned and some things we don't know what we'll be doing, but I'm just going to start going down the line. But Ross and I will be back this Friday, January 10th at 7 p.m., but we have not decided on what we're going to do. So
yeah, actually, I'm not available on Friday.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I didn't get a chance to say that. Maybe Sunday? Can we do it on Sunday?
Actually, well, in regards to Sunday, we'll hold that thought. I'll come back to that. There is going to be a show on. No, it's okay. And this is what happens for not having the staff meetings. So, but anyway, there will be no show on Friday the 10th, just so everybody knows. But I am happy to say on the 12th of January, this coming Sunday, we're going to be having a very special guest on the show who is author John Kenneth Muir, and he's going to be talking about a internet web series that is going to be debuting on January 23rd and is called Abnormal Fixation. So John, I actually had the pleasure of meeting back 25 years ago, actually closer to 26 now, at a Space 1999 convention. And John is a great guy. He's authored over 30 books. One of the first being Exploring Space 1999, but it's going to be an interesting and fun conversation. So definitely mark your calendars. That's going to be next Sunday, January 12th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then, again, flashing ahead, now the 17th, Ross and I may be doing a show on that Friday, but again, I have not been very organized. We haven't, ironed it out. But on the 19th, going to be having a very special guest who's going to be author Adam Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy's son is going to be joining the show and talking about his new book, The Most Human. So mark your calendars for that. That should be a very special discussion. Very much looking forward to that. And then Friday, January 24th, we don't know what we're doing as of yet. And then on Sunday, January 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Jeffrey Morris will be coming onto the show to talk about updates in regards to the Eagle Obsession. So pretty much that's what's planned, or at least those 3 items are pretty much concrete, but we have to iron everything else out. And I apologize, Ross, because I didn't get to have this conversation.
No, I apologize for not mentioning it. Well, you've been busy here. You're going to be on the Sundays too. And that John Kenneth Muir has a really interesting web blog.
Yes.
He writes a lot about a lot of cult movies.
Yeah.
And
Real.
I've read that from time to time.
Yeah, heck of a nice guy too, and he's very detailed. And yeah, he's definitely a blogger in regards to that. So yeah, very very much looking forward to having him on the show. So that'll be really cool.
All right.
But anyway, want to thank everybody for joining us, and hope you enjoyed the show. And again, if you have not subscribed, please do so. Whoa,
is this better? Do I look like Baltar?
You just need to be a little more elevated, and that'll be perfect.
Yeah, we'll try to get this the image fixed up by the next time I'm on here. This is the first time I didn't even have a camera. Roy says, I could see it, but you're kind of fuzzy. And I saw there's a piece of tape over my camera. Still in the packaging. So.
It was the outline. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining us, and thank you for your positive comments. And we hope you enjoyed the show. And we're just getting our feet wet in 2025. And yes, the Imperious leader. By your command, Ross.
By your command, yes.
Anyway, live long and prosper, everybody. And yeah, mark the calendar for the dates, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks for watching.
Bye.